BYD Seal is the executive EV sports saloon you probably won't have considered, but probably should. Most of what a BMW i4, Tesla Model 3 or Polestar 2 customer could want is also here, and then some. If you're browsing in this segment, a Seal simply has to be somewhere on your wish list.
For BYD, this is where it starts getting serious. If you doubt that, then you need to try this car, the Seal. It's their most luxurious product yet. It's one thing for this Chinese giant to target the affordable end of the EV market, where customers aren't particularly brand conscious and expectations are fairly low when it comes to drive dynamics and interior ambience. Quite another to go head-to-head with posher brands in the executive segment, yet that's just what the marque's third UK launch model, the Seal, aims to do. Offered in either SUV form, the Seal U, or as in this case, in saloon guise, it shares much of its fundamental engineering with BYD's first couple of EVs, the Little Dolphin and the Atto 3 family hatch, namely the company's third-generation electric vehicle architecture and its innovative long-range Blade battery design. As befits its ambitious remit, though, to take on executive D-segment EV players like the Tesla Model 3 and the Polestar 2, the Seal has more clever cell-to-body technology, which is supposed to maximise the battery's usable capacity and boost the car's structural integrity. In theory, making it both efficient and sporty. Sounds promising. Well, to find out more, you're going to need the usual comprehensive car and driving review. So what's it like? Can a luxury Chinese D-segment EV saloon of this size be a credible choice against its European brand alternatives at this plush price point? Well, we're about to find out. Press the central start button and both the big screens in front of you spring to life, the instrument display accompanying the process with a cheery blip. Flick the stubby little crystalline gear lever into D and you're ready. But for what? Well, progress that's really rather rapid. Almost all Seal sales will be of the mid-range design RWD model, which has a single rear-mounted 308 bhp motor powered by an 82.5 kilowatt-hour battery, good for 354 miles of range. With that, the 62 mile an hour from rest sprint takes 5.9 seconds en route to 112 miles an hour. Here, though, we've got a Seal that's rather faster than that, the range-topping Seal Excellence AWD flagship variant, which, as the name suggests, also includes an additional front-mounted motor for four-wheel drive. That extra motor means a boost in power to 523 bhp, providing for quite a startling 3.8 second 0 to 62 mile an hour time that BYD's so proud of that it's advertised with a 3.8S badge on the boot lid. The 82.5 kilowatt-hour battery of this range topper is the same as the mid-range model, but the all-wheel drive system's extra weight means that here it only takes the car 323 miles between charges. If these two Seal options are a little pricey for you, it's also possible to talk to the brand about an entry-level, rear-driven comfort spec variant with a smaller 61 kilowatt-hour battery, though that wasn't available at the time of this test. BYD's gone to great efforts to deliver European standards of ride and handling here, aided by what the brand hopes is this car's dynamic trump card, class-leading torsional rigidity. That comes courtesy of an innovative cell-to-body battery installation that makes the 11 centimetre tall Blade battery pack part of the Seal's structure. The result is a level of torsional rigidity, 40,000 newton meters per degree, that some competitors can only dream about. The industry average is around 25,000 newton meters per degree. You'll feel the benefit of that in the reduction of body roll around corners, which is where you'll also get the benefit of this BYD's ITAC, or Intelligent Torque Adaptation Control System. The intelligent part refers to the fact that instead of merely controlling the vehicle in a skid by braking to reduce torque, ITAC controls things much more smoothly and progressively, reacting around 300 times faster and taking far more parameters into account, like wheel speeds and motor resolver sensors, for smoother, high-speed cornering progress. Unlike lesser BYD models, mainstream seals are rear-driven with a double wishbone at the front and multi-link at the rear suspension setup. This is upgraded on this all-wheel drive model with frequency-selective dampers to compensate for that top variant's extra 130 kilograms of weight. The result is a very acceptably supple standard of ride. All seals get 4 driving modes: Eco, Normal, Sport and Snow. And there are 2 regenerative braking modes, though even the fiercest of these doesn't slow the car that significantly off throttle. Whilst we're on settings, there are steering assist and brake assist modes. Choose between comfort and sport in each case. What about refinement? Is this car sealed with a hiss? Well, pretty much. Noise suppression isn't quite up to the standards of a rival BMW i4, but generally meets the quite impressive class standard, with tyre and wind noise well controlled. Here we're looking at the Seal Saloon. There's also a Seal U SUV body shape. In sedan form, the BYD is a fairly dramatic looking thing, styled using the brand's current Ocean X design language, which includes a few gill and fin details to fit with the whole maritime theme. The penmanship comes from ex-Audi stylist Wolfgang Egger, whose CV includes the gorgeous Alfa Romeo Competizione 8C sports car. In profile, it's a wind-cheating shape with a swept-back roofline and a few nods to the whole marine theme, notably scales on the lower sill and BYD design branded gills behind the front wheels, which form the starting point for this pronounced centre crease, which starts from this V-shaped front wing vent and flows backwards through the doors before angling down below the rear door handle. The sizing is properly D-segment. Seal measurements are 4,800mm in length, 1,875 in width and 1,460 in height, which makes the car 106mm longer, 58mm narrower and 17mm taller than its Tesla Model 3 arch rival. There's a sleek 0.22 CD drag coefficient and the wheels are of a single 19-inch size. Up front, it's quite a handsome thing with narrow piercing LED headlamps above these unusual boomerang-shaped 4-section daytime running light strips. These are supposed to resemble water ripples inspired by the ocean and bring to mind surging waves, perhaps. BYD has tried to achieve a visual X shape from this perspective to reflect, it says, the ocean and the unknown. The rear is neat but perhaps unremarkable, apart from BYD's curious need to advertise the 0 to 62 mph time of this excellence all-wheel drive variant, hence this 3.8S badge. Strange, but it's better than the build your dreams nonsense that features on the rear badging of the brand's smaller models. These narrow dot matrix LED tail lamps are supposed to resemble water droplets and are connected, as is the current vogue, by this central strip. Narrow slits embellish each side of the bumper and a ribbed diffuser houses the number plate. What's more important, of course, is what you can't see. Under the skin sits the same E-Platform 3.0 chassis as smaller BYD models, but the cell-to-body battery installation that sits on top of it is different. Here, the battery pack is actually part of the vehicle structure, so there's no metal platform between the cabin floor and the lithium-ion cells. That means a thinner floor and a consequently lower roof height. But not lower weight, quite the opposite actually. The Seal tips the scales at well over 2 tons, about 200 kilos heavier than perhaps its most obvious competitor, the Tesla Model 3. You enter the cabin via neat BYD branded retractable door handles. And once inside, there's a smartly furnished interior with a dashboard supposed to reflect the look of the car's front face. It seems very evident here that BYD has taken European advice in creating this cabin. There's rather less of the kind of shiny plastic screen fest that you get in cheaper Chinese models, including some made by BYD. Though screens still dominate, a 10.25-inch digital instrument panel and a big 15.6-inch infotainment touchscreen that, as with other BYDs, can, somewhat pointlessly, be rotated by 90 degrees between portrait and landscape layouts. Pleasingly, given the price, the interior feels suitably premium, more so than a rival Model 3, particularly with these quilted vegan leather sports seats with their BYD embossed headrests and smart blue and white stitching that also features on the dash top and extends into the doors. Not everyone likes BYD cabins with their strange shapes and unusual colours, but they are at least different and, we think, quite appealing, providing you don't mind synthetic vegan leather and the rather strange chemically lavender-like smell which we've noticed all the brand's models tend to have. Soft touch surfaces are everywhere, your favourite with soft fabric finishing for the centre dash and the doors. The gloss black plastic gets these smart lined patterns. You get this grippy blue-stitched three-spoke wheel, and there's the option of a darker black cabin theme if you anticipate correctly that this Tahitian blue-themed interior will mark up very quickly. A few cheaper touches are dotted around, principally the door handles, unfortunately fashioned from brittle plastic. The central screen functionality takes a little learning. It doesn't get a lower capstan controller like in a BMW i4, for instance, and it's been burdened with climate controls. You swipe from the bottom to show these. We didn't find the voice control system very intuitive. You have to speak extremely clearly for the system to understand what you want, and often it simply tells you that it can't do what you want it to do. Navigation's included, of course, which works well with a useful split screen function. Plus, this top model gets a clear sounding Dynaudio stereo setup, and there's an inbuilt Spotify app. And there's wireless functionality for the built-in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto phone mirroring systems, though annoyingly, phone mirroring can only be used when the screen is in its landscape orientation. Your homepage can either be the 3 features you use most frequently, or if you swipe left, you can select from rows of little icons, including the expected smart charging section and a variety themes menu that gives you 6 choices for, respectively, colour theme and wallpaper background. Just about anything else you might need to know can be found on this LCD instrument panel, which is quite a lot bigger than the one the brand fits to its smaller models. The information here is well presented and not too cluttered. A left-hand power meter and a right-hand speedometer separated by a configurable centre drive assist graphic. Battery percentage and range show along the bottom edge of the screen, while along the top there's time, temperature, compass, bearing and the prevailing speed limit, while in the centre at the top your selected gear is flanked by your selected drive mode and brake regen setting. Enough with screens, what else might you need to know here? Well, earlier we mentioned these intricately stitched seats. They don't particularly position you at a low and sporty angle, but they're ergonomic, really supportive, and have 4-way lumbar support, along with a wide range of powered adjustment. Plus, you get heating and ventilation for them as standard. The narrowness of the centre tunnel improves legroom, and this cabin's reasonably practical. BYD says there are 20 flexible storage spaces for small items around the interior. These include a decently deep centre armrest bin, with a top apparently shaped to resemble a seal emerging from the water, and a centre tray beneath the centre console, though BYD hasn't thought to put a rubberised mat in it, so any small things you put there will slide around irritatingly once you're on the move. The glove box and the door bins are reasonably large, and there are ticket clips in the sun visors, though no overhead sunglasses compartment. Nice touches include twin phone charging pads to work with the wireless phone mirroring that you can angle to get a better view of your phone's screen, and cup holders built into the centre console with variable depth, so you can raise or lower them depending on the size of your drink. Other thoughtful inclusions include double layered laminated glass, multicoloured ambient lighting, an anti-glare rear view mirror and a negative ion generator to improve cabin air quality. This Excellence version has a head-up display as well, but as with the speedometer, its numbers are too sensitive and flash distractingly in your eye line. BYD hasn't thought to switch the indicator stalk to the right side for the European market either, so you'll be switching on the wipers every time you turn out of a junction for the first few days you own the car. Build quality seems strong. The centre screen, for instance, doesn't wobble when you push it, as is the case in some Mercedes models. All-round visibility is a bit compromised to the rear thanks to the sloping roof and small rear windows, so you'll definitely need the all-round sensors and standard 360-degree rear view camera system, though its resolution isn't particularly sharp. In the back, thanks to a generous 2,920mm of wheelbase length, a 45mm advantage over the rival Tesla Model 3, there's a bit more leg stretching space than you might expect, though you can't push your feet very far under the front chairs, and the room in a rival Hyundai Ioniq 6 is more generous still. Headroom's better than that Hyundai though, even though it is a bit compromised by the sweeping rear roofline with its fixed panoramic glass top. Two 6-footers should be fine back here though. Shoulder room is generous and there's decent under-thigh support too. Despite the flat floor, you'd struggle to fit in a middle-seated adult, mainly because of this raised middle seat cushion, which means the person in question would probably have their head brushing the ceiling. That glass top gives an airy feel back here, and there's a reasonable amount of storage space with decent door bins and an armrest with twin cup holders. There are these little round overhead reading lights, and this little lower centre panel conceals both USB-A and USB-C ports with a cubby and twin vents just above. Coat hooks are lacking from the grab handles, they're on the B pillars, but the front seat backs with their shiny upper inserts not only have map pockets, but also twin upper phone pockets. Let's finish, as usual, with a look at boot space. Now, because this isn't a hatchback, you'll have to negotiate a rather narrow boot loading aperture, but the powered lid rises to reveal a reasonable 402 litres of capacity, enough for 7 carry-on cases. To give you some class perspective, that's about the same as a Hyundai Ioniq 6, but less than you get from a Volkswagen ID.7 or a Tesla Model 3, which will take up to 9 carry-on cases. There's a netted storage area on the left and quite a deep lidded well beneath the boot floor, though it isn't big enough to take any kind of spare wheel. For longer items that might need accommodating, there's no ski hatch or convenient 40-20-40 split backrest, but BYD does provide 60-40 split rear seat backs that can be folded forward. If you need more room, there's a further 53 litres in the frunk beneath the bonnet, enough for a set of charging cables. From launch, and at the time of this test in early summer 2024, BYD wanted around £46,000 for this seal in design RWD form, and around £49,000 for this top Excellence all-wheel drive version. Interestingly, for an unknown brand, as you can tell from those figures, BYD isn't looking to substantially undercut its main competitors on price. You're going to need some perspective on the asking figures we've just given you in terms of market segment rivals. Well, most D-segment competitors are hatchbacks. The only one that isn't is Tesla's market-leading Model 3, which in base rear-driven form undercuts a base rear-driven seal by around £5,000. What about 5-door segment options? Well, also clustered around this seal's base £46,000 starting price point are entry rear-driven versions of the Polestar 2 and the Kia EV6, with base single-motor versions of the Hyundai Ioniq 6 and the BMW iX1 costing only a fraction more. Around £3,000 more than a base seal gets you Volvo's EX40, and you'll need to stretch to around the £50,000 price point if you want the most affordable rear-driven versions of the Mercedes EQA, The Ford Mustang Mach-E, the Audi Q4 e-tron, the BMW i4 and the Volkswagen ID.7. More still is needed for a Tesla Model Y or a Volvo EC40. That's covered off the main rear-driven EV segment alternatives. What about if you're looking at this seal in this pricier all-wheel drive Excellence dual motor form, which we told you earlier was priced, as we filmed, from around £50,000. That's similar to the amount you'd need for a base all-wheel drive Hyundai Ioniq 6, Kia EV6 or Fisker Ocean, and just a fraction less than a dual-motor Tesla Model 3 or an Audi Q4 45 e-tron Quattro. Dual-motor versions of the Tesla Model Y and Polestar 2 will cost about £4,000 more. If you're casting your net wider, the amount BYD wants for an all-wheel drive seal is about £4,000 less than would be required for a rival Mercedes EQA 300 4MATIC and around £5,000 less than BMW wants for an all-wheel drive iX1. Some all-wheel drive EV D-segment rivals cost a lot more. The cheapest all-wheel drive version of the Ford Mustang Mach-E, as we filmed, cost over £65,000, while the all-wheel drive version of the BMW i4 is the vastly more expensive M50 variant, which costs over £70,000. OK, so that's briefed you on the market. Now, if having considered that, you conclude, understandably, that there's nothing quite like a BYD seal and want to consider actually buying or leasing one, then you're going to need to know just how generous the Chinese brand has been with standard specs. So let's take a look at that now. Across the range, standard features include 19-inch alloy wheels, a panoramic glass roof, keyless start and entry, a powered tailgate, remote climate control, power folding mirrors, a 360-degree panoramic camera, and also headlamps and wipers. Inside, there's vegan leather upholstery, plus heat, powered adjustment and cool ventilation for the front sports seats, along with a heated steering wheel, multicolour ambient lighting, twin phone charging mats, a 10.25-inch full instrument LCD panel, and an impressive 12-speaker Dynaudio performance audio system to provide premium quality sound. Media features are accessed via a 15.6-inch rotatable screen equipped with an intelligent voice control function that can be activated with the voice command, "Hey BYD," and there's wireless smartphone integration via Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. There's also onboard 4G connectivity and cloud services. Useful standard driver's features include adaptive cruise control and intelligent cruise control, plus intelligent speed limit information with intelligent speed limit control. The LED headlights offer cutting-edge lighting technology that provides a wider beam to aid visibility during night driving, with high beam assist, adaptive cornering tech, and follow me home lighting when you reach your front door. And of course, there's an app. This one's called BYD Connect, and as you'd expect, it provides real-time vehicle status information, allowing users to remotely activate and control key functions with regularly updated over-the-air features, from remotely checking battery charge levels and driving range to remote climate preconditioning and door lock and unlock controls. The only difference in spec between the design and Excellence models is that Excellence spec includes a head-up display. Across the range, there are 6 colour options: ice blue, Atlantic grey, polar white, space black, or optionally shadow green or indigo grey. In terms of safety and advanced driver assistance, the seal was awarded a full 5-star rating by Euro NCAP, and you can see why. The flat, elongated design of the battery improves the structural rigidity of the car's E-Platform 3.0 chassis in the event of a collision, offering better protection with a forced transmission path exclusively for EVs. This architecture features a multi-load path structure controlling how energy is absorbed by the car in the event of a collision, minimising intrusion into the passenger cabin. Passenger protection is further enhanced by a reinforced body structure with high torsional rigidity. It's also worth mentioning that this seal's blade battery uses LFP, or lithium iron phosphate, as its cathode material, which offers a much higher level of safety than conventional lithium-ion batteries. As well as being 100% free of cobalt, LFP batteries are more resistant to extreme temperatures without the risk of igniting or exploding. Of course, there's lots of camera safety kit too. This Seal's centre screen splits it into two categories: driving assist and active safety. Under active safety, there's predictive collision warning, automatic emergency braking, front cross traffic alert, front cross traffic braking and blind spot assist. Under driving assist, there's child presence detection, high beam assist, traffic sign recognition, driver attention warning, and a lane support system, including lane keep assistance, lane change assist, and emergency lane keeping. This BYD also includes rear collision warning, rear cross traffic alert, and rear cross traffic brake. There's also a door opening warning setup which uses the blind spot cameras to detect if you're about to open one of the doors in the face of an oncoming vehicle, cyclist or pedestrian. Plus, of course, you get all the usual electronic assistance for traction, stability and braking, along with hill descent control, automatic vehicle hold, the usual complement of twin front, side and curtain airbags, and an e-call system to alert the emergency services if any of them ever goes off. The battery used here is of the unique to BYD lithium iron phosphate blade variety, which incorporates cells mounted in the strips directly to the pack, which the Chinese maker says allows for a much higher cell density than a conventional battery could offer. So, a much higher driving range then? Sadly not. The 354-mile range of the core design RWD model is reasonably class competitive, but way off being class leading. It's 323 miles for the Excellence all-wheel drive model, the reduction due to the extra 130 kilograms of weight this twin motor variant carries around. We've been achieving around 3 miles per kilowatt hour on this test, which was slightly disappointing actually and left us some way off the quoted range figures between charges. The official figure for this all-wheel drive version is 3.41 miles per kilowatt. It's 3.74 miles per kilowatt for the design version. To preserve driving range in cold conditions, a heat pump is standard on both models, something Volkswagen Group brand rivals charge around £1,000 extra for. The heat pump can also absorb waste heat from the electric powertrain, while it can withstand temperatures ranging from minus 30 degrees centigrade to 60 degrees centigrade. You'd think that BYD building, designing and owning this car's entire set of EV drivetrain components, including battery and semiconductors, would allow the company to make the Seal able to offer a truly modern 800 volt electrical architecture capable of allowing charging with the new breed of ultra-rapid DC public chargers, something we've already seen in this class with the Hyundai Ioniq 6. But no, it's the same conventional 400 volt system as everyone else uses. Instead, Seal customers benefit from what the brand calls a high voltage electric drive boost charging solution, which supposedly allows for faster charging. This technology innovatively uses the motor inductor to replace the boost inductor to meet the 420 to 750 volt voltage range of charging piles with high power DC charging. During the charging process, this BYD's drivetrain reduces the heat generation of the charging and distribution assembly for more reliable performance. The Seal offers an 11 kilowatt three-phase onboard charger for AC charging and can be fast charged at a DC ultra-fast charging station with 150 kilowatts, not an especially high speed, given that a Tesla Model 3 can charge at up to 170 kilowatts and a Hyundai Ioniq 6 at up to 233 kilowatts. The Seal's 150 kilowatt figure allows the battery to be charged from 30 to 80% in 26 minutes. There's no battery preconditioning feature of the kind that some rivals offer to pre-warm the LFP battery so that it charges quicker. As for charging at home, well, if you're converting to an electric vehicle, from a previous combustion model, you'll obviously need to factor in the cost of an EV charger for your house and perhaps also the office. There's still complexity around the best charging hardware to choose and who's eligible for a government grant. And obviously the costs can vary also depending on the distance from your main meter to the charger and other factors. There's lots of advice out there, of course, to guide you. We consulted PlugMeIn.com, who offer customers everything from choice of charger to installation and ongoing maintenance. They've advised us that even with increased energy prices, the cost of running an EV and charging it at home on a dedicated tariff is still only around half the cost of running your previous petrol or diesel car. The AC charging time from a typical 7.4 kilowatt garage wall box for both models is around 13 hours from empty to full. So it only just manages to charge overnight and won't be able to completely if you've a late finish and an early start. The centre screen has a smart charging section, allowing you to schedule charging times to coincide with off-peak electricity rates. Or you can do the same thing remotely via the BYD Connect app. That big 82.5 kilowatt hour battery pack won't be cheap to fill based on the current average electricity rate, as we tested, and under an energy price guarantee. The cost for a full fill was around £25. When DC charging publicly though, that cost spirals to around £65. Still cheaper than filling up a tank with petrol or diesel, but not by much. There's a better warranty than you get from most rivals, up to 6 years or 93,750 miles, with an extra 2 years for the drive unit and the battery. That battery is covered for up to 125,000 miles and is guaranteed to retain at least 70% of its capacity throughout the warranty duration. Insurance looks like it might be unreasonably expensive, rated at Group 48 for the design and Group 50 for this Excellence all-wheel drive variant. To give you some class perspective, an equivalent Hyundai Ioniq 6 is rated at Group 36 and a BMW i4 at Group 38. Still, depreciation levels look as if they're going to be reasonable. Independent experts reckon that after 3 years and 36,000 miles, your Seal should still be worth around 53% of what you originally paid for it, which is only fractionally behind a BMW i4 and well above a Hyundai Ioniq 6. A Tesla Model 3 does better still though, at 56%. You might hope that servicing costs would be cheaper with an EV, but here the owner's manual lists quite a few items that need regular checking every year, or 20,000 kilometres, that's 12,427 miles. The manual also suggests that the main battery needs to be fully charged and discharged as part of a battery self-calibration procedure every 6 months, or 75,000 kilometres, that's 44,739 miles, which sounds like a bit of a faff. The centre screen's provided vehicle health section briefs you on maintenance intervals and maintenance mileage. Finally, as usual with EVs, you'll pay nothing for VED road tax until 2025, and also until that date you'll get free entry to the London congestion and ULEZ zones. Plus, until 2025, your benefit-in-kind taxation will be rated at 2%. This is the most convincing BYD model we've seen so far, and a worthy rival for the ambitious executive EV contenders it's up against. It's better value than a BMW i4, nicer inside than a Tesla Model 3, better to drive than a Hyundai Ioniq 6, and cleverer than a Polestar 2. That's a decent CV. Plus, because BYD manufactures virtually all the Seal itself in-house, there are fewer supply chain issues, so you're likely to get your car within weeks of your order, rather than months. Despite all of these attributes, the truth is that in the combustion era, this car would have struggled to make an impact in its segment. But things are different now. The average EV customer is much less badge conscious and more likely to be attracted by the innovative technology being showcased here. It's all indicative of the current, quite astonishing pace of Chinese automotive development.